So recently we held a caucus at LA Can of formerly incarcerated individuals and family members to talk about Prop 25. We wanted to hear the ins and outs of the devastation that could be caused if this proposition moves forward. This series that we're releasing, Keeping It 100, talking about today, Prop 25 and other days, is elevating the real voices of real impacted people who will not be bamboozled. We've been sitting here in caucus and in community with formerly incarcerated people and their family members who have been impacted by the criminal injustice system. And we've been getting together talking about Prop 25, right?
Okay.
Currently, what we know about Prop 25 is that it's going to give unfettered power to judges and prosecutors. We know that it's going to build out the probation department. The probation department will then become sort of the pretrial release department, right? We also know that racist ass risk assessments will all be used as tools to figure out will we be free or not. We know we've been battling, with SB 10. Folks was talking about battling the bail bond industry, and we in no way respect the bail bond industry. I said the bail bond industry. The bail bond industry because they are exploitative and bloodsuckers. Yeah. We don't want bloodsuckers in our communities, right? We didn't give enough houses. We didn't give enough 10%, all kind of shits to the bail bond industry. But we also know that the bail bond industry is like third or fourth down the list of our troubles when we enter the doors of the criminal injustice system. Topping that list is the judge, who is actually the person who tells you what your bail is going to be. That bail amount that's sent to the bail bond industry. Second on the list, and it could be a tie with the judges, is the prosecutors that's trying to keep your ass locked up forever. Third on the list is the probation department, who's also there. And people need to realize probation department is the police department, right? Exactly. They're sitting there creating standards by which most people can't always adhere to and find themselves back in jail. And then, of course, we got these lying-ass police and sheriffs, right? And so why would, knowing all we know about this system and knowing the experiences that our community has had with this system, why in the hell would organizations tell communities that they're supposed to support and be checking for to vote yes or to support Prop 25 that does all these things? Why do you think these organizations would do that? What are the motives of organizations to tell you to support your oppressor?
Can't be nothing but backdoor deals. We already know that, right? We already know there's got to be something that they getting in return, right? Because it's clearly these people that you just named are not for us, especially the judges, right? Judges is the problem, right? They're inherent to the historical biases, right, that they've been having for years, for decades, has been the linchpin between us going home and going to the penitentiary. And as you can see, we've been going to the penitentiary, not going home. Mm-hmm. And so it's just another rewashing of the same thing. I mean, I don't see a change in Proposition 25. I don't see where we would get any type of justice or any type of a play out of that. Sort of say, looking at how we gonna be judged. You got the probation department, you got a judge, and you say the prosecutor. Those are everybody that keep us in. Who gonna be speaking for us, man?
Yeah, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying we got organizations like the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, right? That look like us, led by people who look like us, and Community for Safety and Justice, who are saying when they talk about reasons that people should support, and we saying this is just gonna build up the carceral state. They're saying, oh, just trust the judges. They're gonna be better. Oh, just trust probation. Oh, just trust the risk assessments. You can figure out. This is after all the evidence is on the ground. Tell me, in your experience, shit, you've been in front of these judges?
Yeah.
You found a judge you can trust yet?
No. All my life I've been in front of judges. maybe one or two, right, who did the right thing, right? But that's not to say, here it is, you're talking about a system, right? So it ain't gonna be, Judge Wright that's gonna be up there that's hearing all these cases, right? You're talking about different judges, that's gonna be hearing different things. So they all ain't on the same page together. They all, just like I said, got internal biases and prejudices that they themselves have to deal with, right? That's the reason why the system is the system the way it is now, right? And so how do we change that? How do we get back to that? I was just reading today how President Trump has just signed a directive to take out critical race thinking out of school, right? And so what that tells me is they don't even want to hear our story. They don't even want to hear our history, right? It's not even important to them no more. He said he just want to talk about patriotism, you know what I'm saying? The good things about America, and that's it and that's all. Well, what is that?
So tell me this. And so also, now remember, SB 10 Prop 25, everything we talking about is pretrial, right? Yeah. You ain't been convicted of anything, right? Yeah. Now enters the probation department. Now, the probation department in our communities, we know the probation department as part of a sentence, right? Either you going to jail and probation, or you leaving the court on probation, which is an extension of the criminal justice system. So, is there any good in that?
Hell no, just like you just said. I mean, it's for us black folks, it's guilty until proven innocent, right? And so we never do really get that chance to prove ourselves innocent because we always got barriers that keep us from going to court. Like, for example, we get a bail that we can't afford to we can't afford. Right, $200,000. I think the last bail ones that I had, I can't afford that. So now it comes to the point of me waiting to go to trial or either taking the deal, right? And so you never get a chance to even go through none of these things that criteria they talking about because half of the black folks gonna end up taking the deal because a lot of people ain't trying to go to the county jail and be in the county jail for months trying to fight the case. So that's a problem right there, right? And then the fact that even if you do get get a chance to see any of these people, like the judges, the probationers, their mind is already prejudged and already preset because of the questionnaires and the shit that they already have laid out. So it already finds us, it already criminalizes us already. So I don't see a change in Prop 25 and how it's gonna benefit us in no way, no how, because I don't see how it's going to work out.
Some of the things that, folks over at ARC and Communities for Safety and Justice, CSJ and Western Center are saying about SB 10 and Prop 25 is that if you remove bail for everybody, that levels the playing field. Because now white folks, they don't get to use their wealth as a ticket out of the jail. What do you say about that?
I mean, we still gotta fucking go through the system and face the judge, right?
Yes.
And we still gotta face the probation cop, right? And so that's when the bias is gonna come back and spring back up again, right? And so they ain't gonna go through white folks ain't gonna go through the same door that we go through, right? And if they do, they ain't gonna have the same, same things that they have to face that we have, right? And so from that perspective, it's we back to point square A. Right?
Yep. I mean, this idea that they're saying, and this is where I get. There's a lot of problems with folks who look like us. All kinfolk ain't skinfolk, right?
There you go.
All skinfolk ain't kinfolk. Folks like us are going on Facebook and going on Twitter and being paid to campaign for Prop 25. And the only answers they have, like we have facts, we have analysis, we have experience. And many of these folks, they've been in front of judges too, right? Their only talking point is just trust the judges.
No, we can't.
Just trust the risk assessment. Just trust the probation department. It will work out right. What do we say to that?
We can't do that. No, when have it ever worked out for us? It don't. You got to understand that the system it's inherently racist, right? And it's designed not to work for us. So by us saying trust it, what are we trusting? We trusting something that like a door that don't never open. You standing there waiting on a door, trust the door to open that's been welded. Right? It's not gonna open. Right? And so there is no trust. I mean, and then how do we get to the point to where we gotta be the trust barriers? I gotta always trust that something's gonna work out for me. Right? And then when it don't, then what? Right? Because that's where it usually always work for me being black. I'm always put in a position to where, I always gotta, throw myself, in other words, to the mercy of the court, right? When the court is never lenient toward me or never considerable toward me, it's always criminal this, it's always you did this, you did that, and it's always straight punishment, right? So now you're telling me that it's gonna be different. Even when I was innocent, understand me, I was still treated like I was guilty, and I was prosecuted. Understand me, as I was guilty, right? As though I was guilty. And so for me, I mean, no matter which way you go to as a black person, I don't see it. I don't see us getting anything out of Prop 25 other than it's just another slick talk. It's just slick talking, and it's just another way for them to do the same thing, but under different methods. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's the same dog and pony show because the result's gonna be the same. Us ended up in jail, us ended up on probation, or us ended up with some fine. Only thing different this time, it's just gonna be the process.
That's right. that is a great point. The only thing different about it is the process. Yes. Right? We see this in this technological age, right? We see it with risk assessments, right? What the attempt continues to be to remove the appearance of bias, but not the bias itself.
That part.
Right?
Yeah,
like, well, let's just do a risk score, right? And then we battle against the risk score, and we find out from those scientists that, y'all busted us. Yeah, black and brown people, y'all risk score is going to be higher. Y'all going to stay in jail, right? But that's after the fact, after that they've caged us. And so this idea that you want us once again to just trust that you have changed feathers or colors is not something that we can do.
And the same with the judges. We want us to trust them that now they're not going to hate us on no more. They're not going to send us to the penitentiary no more. They're not going to be biased toward us no more.
Right.
You want us to trust that and do that? No.
So none of these folks from these organizations that's telling us to support it, a couple of things they're doing. First thing they're doing, they're not telling their funders and their supporters who the opposition is. And so when they talk about opposition, they're like, there's just a few people. You don't have to worry about them. They don't want to name us because if they name us, then they know there will be real consternation and concern. Right?
Exactly, because people are going to be like, wow, that group right there know what they're talking about. So if they ain't going with you, then there's a real issue with what you're doing.
That's right. And so they know that. Right? They know that all day long. And so for me, because they know that means y'all also know the tricky slick shit you up to.
Exactly.
And so, I've been calling them out. Like for me, I believe that if you are all justified in what you're doing, don't have your own Facebook Live. Have a debate with us.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Let's have a debate. Facebook Live, middle of the street, City Hall, on top of the county building, like wherever you want.
Yeah.
Let's have a debate for our people. Right? Nothing without us, nothing about us without us.
Exactly.
But to date, and folks have called on them and they've done nothing. So what do you think about folks who you calling out? You saying from the get-go, if you saying this is something different than what it is, why don't you debate me? And they don't do that. Why do you think they wouldn't do that?
I smell a rat. You already know that. It's something dirty going on. You already know. Because if you first of all be really for your people, you're gonna stand up and represent that in a real strong way, just like you said. And you're willing to go to the arena. You're gonna take it to the dance floor. You know what I'm saying? And say, yeah, I'm ready to fight. You know what I'm saying? Anything you want to do, we're going to put it on the table, and you're going to try to prove your point of view. And then not only are you going to prove your point of view, if you see the other side got a point, you can say, well, that's something that we need to work on, especially about the trust part with the judges. How can we guarantee that? So how can you guarantee that? You know what I'm saying? And then what you going to do, you know what I'm saying, when it don't work that way? How you going to pay back the people? I mean, so when this shit falls through, like we know it is, if it passed, you know what I'm saying, then what are you willing to do, the organization that sold us out? I mean, what's the payback for this? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what are you willing to do for that? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's the real get down, is that people facing or taking real responsibility for what's going on. And this time right now, this is the time where we see Black Lives Matter movements across the nation. We see this is the time when black folks is really in the streets right now, and we're trying to make a difference, right? And so this ain't the time, you know what I'm saying, for organizations to go against that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in no way and no how that you supposed to be speaking out for judges in the system when people around, not even America, but around the world is talking about abolish the system. You know what I'm saying? Defund the systems and stuff like that, right? Here we talking about trust them. You know what I'm saying? Give them another chance. You know, let's do this. No, that ain't finna happen right now.
Hey, that shit's hilarious, but it's so real, right? Because you got millions of people across the streets in this country and all other countries saying defund the police.
Even in Japan.
Right. Defund. And at the same time, folks are saying defund, you are supporting a measure that only builds the system up, that gives the system more money, right?
Yeah.
There is no way that the addition of 400, and this is in LA County, or roughly 400 probation officers is going to be cheap. There is no way that with the addition of 400 probation officers and all the violations, the pre-trial violations that's going to happen, there's no way that's not going to lead to building more jails.
Exactly.
There's no way with all this conversation about defund that we're talking about getting rid of the bail bond industry, which fuck them, we don't give a fuck about them.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's crazy to believe that if they are removed, that they're not going to take their resources and invest it into other technologies to incarcerate us, right? So there's no way you're getting rid of shit right there either. So what you're doing is you're building on and developing. And the idea that you're saying, you know, it's funny, this idea that they're saying, just trust the judges, when the whole fucking country is in mourning after the passing of Judge Ginsburg, right? Because she was one of the few judges that you can point to that was solid in her resolve, right? And so in a moment when she passes, you got some fools, I'm gonna call them fools at this moment, saying just trust the judges, just trust the judges. When judges at that level don't even trust the judges. You know what I mean? There is so much to say. I would just say, what would your challenge to these organizations? And now I'm really focusing on the organizations that prop up black faces in the front, but definitely are sort of given resources by non-black people, right? What would you say? And these is folks who are also they folks who have been locked up, right? Folks who don the formerly incarcerated banner, right? What would you say is the duty of these folks? Like, all right, so if you out here repping for formerly incarcerated folks, as someone who done spent a fair share of time in there, what would be your shout out to these individuals? What would you say they need to do right now in this moment with Prop 25?
So, most definitely before November 3rd come, they need to, lay it out on the table and come clean. Because it's gonna be hell to pay. I mean, it's gonna be like the biggest sellout. You're gonna be a sellout. You're gonna be called all kind of names. You understand me? And it's well deserving of, because you deserve all those names. But not only is you gonna be calling names, but I mean it's gonna destroy you and your organization. And this is, like I was saying, at a time when black folks supposed to be, uplifting black folks supposed to be standing together and fighting back. Here we are, we see the old, person, turncoat, as we would call them, that's selling us out. They are sellouts, straight up. You know what I mean? And here in 2020, we can't have that going in. I mean, this is the US organization back in the 60s that sold the Panthers out. You know what I mean? And so this is, I mean, it shows that it continued to go on. We got some Negroes around here, you know what I mean? That's really fucked up.
We definitely want to say here at LA Can before we go out, fuck the bail bond industry. But we don't believe that the bail bond industry is the goddamn pilot of the criminal and justice system. That starts with judges, that starts with prosecutors, with the police departments, with probation, with parole departments. Well before any of the decisions that wreck our lives as it relates to pretrial incarceration, well before it gets to the damn bail bond industry, it's the judge. It's the judge and that illegal, which we now know is an illegal bail schedule that locks us up beyond our ability to pay. And now, not only are we talking about locking us up beyond our ability to pay, now we're talking about giving judges almost unfettered control over the decisions that could set us free.
We're in a world of trouble.
We're
in a world of trouble.
We're in a hell of a world of trouble. Prop 25 is not a proposition for us. Prop 25 is a proposition about us without us. No on Prop 25.